please put your hands together for the Kara Chair, Mr. Richard Nyaga. Makofi to Brian.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very pleased today to stand here and welcome you to this conference and also to our Expo of Kara, which is the second event we have organized so far. The theme for this year's event is enhancing quality of urban life in Kenya through resident associations. And that's our core mandate. It is intended to focus attention on the pivotal role that we as associations can play in promoting access to better services in our country. And we hope that, of course, in the second phase of our evolution, we can start seeing better services, improved services for all of us, particularly those who live in urban centers. The event, Expo, will feature a number of activities, including informative conference, which we are going to have today, on sustainable urban development. You can actually have free medical screening by AAR as part of the service that we're providing this function. And we have healthcare and Gertrude's Children's Hospital. They are here with us. We will have a provision of services by Huduma Kenya, Huduma Service. This is a new innovation come in the last few years to take services right to the people at the local level. And we think it's working, and we will have them here just to demonstrate what they are doing for all of us. Resident associations, as key stakeholders on the issue of service delivery, have a very critical role to play in the realization of the SDGs and specifically the new urban agenda. As Kara, we are ready to partner with the government to promote the implementation of this agenda here in Kenya. And we acknowledge, of course, that the State Department of Housing and Urban Development, which is a big support of Kara, I must say, is at the center of implementation of the new agenda, and the presence of top official today, Mr. Sikoku, testifies to that, and there's a confirmation that they are able and willing to join hands with us and other actors in realizing the goals of the SDGs. One of the features in this year's event is the annual Resident Association Excellence Awards, which I've mentioned. This is an event taking place for the first time, so we have decided to commence the celebration of the great work that the resident associations, wherever they are doing for this country. The introduction of these awards is informed by the fact that the resident associations play a very pivotal role in enhancing access to public services and improving the quality of life in Kenya and for Kenyans. Yet, of course, many of these services are unseen and are not appreciated. We hope that through these awards, we will be able to focus public attention on the importance these associations play in promoting structured engagement with the government and improving service delivery to our people. Thank you for listening to me, and Asanteni and Karibuni.
Of course, this particular moment will be looking at the role of resident associations in the implementation of the new urban agenda, which is part of the Sustainable Development Goals. Just put your hands together for Charles Sikuku, Slum Upgrading Department.
R.S. Nyaga, Chairman, Kenya Alliance of Resident Associations, stakeholders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It is a special honor to be here today and greatly appreciate the invitation to be part of this event. As a State Department, we appreciate the role of CARA over the years in facilitating conversations on issues touching on the built environment. The theme for this conference, enhancing quality of urban life in Kenya through resident associations, is indeed appropriate, as it comes at a time when the government is facilitating the provision of 1 million affordable housing units by 2022. Distinguished stakeholders, I've been asked to address this gathering on the role of resident associations in the implementation of the new urban agenda, which was adopted in October 2016 in Quito. And some of you participated in the process as key stakeholders. As a nation, we undertook preparation of the popular version of the new urban agenda, which was launched by His Excellency the President in May this year. This popular version speaks to our priority areas, which are urban management and shelter strategies, rural-urban linkages and development, sustainable urbanization, good governance, youth empowerment, environmental protection, conservation and green energy, capacity development, and insecurity and terrorism. Ladies and gentlemen, CARA has an important role to play in addressing these key areas of the new urban agenda, which include sensitizing residents on these priority areas such as safety and security in the estates and promoting the Nyumba Kumi initiative. Keeping the environment in residential areas clean, forging partnerships with county wards, mobilizing financial and human resources, participating in local, national and international urban forums, and learn from the best practices. In regard to forums, the State Department of Housing and Urban Development is spearheading the National Urban Forum, NUF, that will be held on 15th to 16th January 2018. This is an event that brings together and promotes participatory and multidimensional approach by stakeholders in the sector to share experiences and best practices in addressing human settlement challenges. On the other hand, the World Urban Forum is a meeting that brings together experts from United Nations member states, governments, and other stakeholders to exchange views on housing and urbanization and human settlements. The 9th session of World Urban Forum, WUF 9, will be held in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia on 7th to 13th February 2018 with the theme Cities 2030, Cities for All, implementing the new urban agenda. Colleagues, participants, the government recognizes that housing is a human right, Article 41, 1B of the Constitution, and a basic human need. Third, to food and clothing, with both social and economic benefits. In this regard, and as earlier alluded to, we are keen on delivering 1 million housing units by 2022 in urban areas across the nation. To realize this noble and ambitious undertaking, collaboration of all key stakeholders, including contractors, developers, financiers, and manufacturers of building materials, consumers of the houses, cooperatives, CARA, and even individuals is required. This program will incorporate housing units, social facilities, fiscal infrastructure, environmental infrastructure, and commercial infrastructure. 800,000 units of the program will be provided through public-private partnerships, PPPs, while the government is expected to facilitate in terms of providing infrastructure and social housing for the low-income segment. Advertisement for the expression of interest was undertaken in November 2017 for a pilot project of 8,200 units in Mavoko. Progress has been made towards achieving this program, including meeting with housing cooperatives and SACCOs, which is informed by the fact that cooperatives have sizable land, savings, and customer base, which will provide support to this initiative. Ongoing discussions with pension schemes through Retirement Benefits Authority with a view to unlocking affordable funds. This 1 million initiative is in line with the new urban agenda geared towards sustainable urban areas and leaving no one behind. We are currently working with all key ministries to ensure that the success and sustainability of the program. As a State Department, our doors are open to innovative and resourceful ideas that will propel us forward. We invite you to identify your niche as CARA and let us journey together in the noble undertaking. Wishing you fruitful deliberations and impacting outcomes. God bless you all and thank you.
The question that I have for you, Bwana Shikuku, is relating to the last point that we made about the rollout of the various housing units and the use of the PPP. Could you just tell us what the implementation mechanism is? Which body within under your ministry would be involved so that people can know how to then approach this particular issue? But it's a wonderful initiative. Thank you very much.
I'm George Mungao Okonji from Bunge la Wazalendo. Jina yangu nitaongea kwa Kiswahili. Bwana Shikuku, pongezi kwa yale umetuambia. Lakini tumeshasikia, mine is a comment, it's not a question. Tumeshasikia maudhui mengi sana towards slum upgrading. Yuko mjamaa wangu hapa atakuja kuuliza swali. Na kila mara the government comes up with very juicy, if you may allow me to say, policies, research papers, and what have you. Then at the end of the day, hizo zote zinawekwa hapa chini na mambo inaisha hivi. So we keep on repeating ourselves in circles. Yangu ningeimiza serikali, come up with your priorities na muwe serious kabisa, kwa maana maslums zinaendelea kukua, zinakuwa making slum upgrading a laughing stock. Mine was a comment. Thank you.
My name is John Gatundu, a member of CARA. Mine, I was saying, is very close to the former speaker who stood up here before me. And Bwana Shikuku, what I would like to ask is the slum upgrading. Where I live, we border the railway line. Now the railway line has had a reserve of 30 meters both sides for a very long time. When I was about this high, many years ago, you could not get into that reserve. Today, we are having a lot of slums coming up. And my question is, even as you look into the slum upgrading, how do you cut short or curtail the slums that are growing at a tremendous rate? Thank you.
I'm Aisha Dafala. I work for Dairas Mbela Foundation. My question is to Mr. Shikuku. You're talking about upgrading. We have this Kibera. Just the other day, they were given the title deed for 288 acres in Kibera. Just as an example, what can the government do just to show us that they are doing the actual thing? Just an example of Kibera.
I'm Dr. Gitambo. I'm a member of the Governing Council, but I'm from Mombasa. Just a question. For you to say you are going to upgrade, there's an essential component to making something better, and that is standards. There is that it implies everything is not about new construction. It's even about existing construction and existing living standards in the urban area. Can you tell us a bit about how you are going to improve the urban standards and how you're going to engage the public, because obviously you can't do it by yourself, and whether they are already in writing or they're going to be in writing?
And we are here to discuss enhancing the quality of urban life through resident associations. I think when we look at improving the quality of urban life, and if we in particular look at Kibera or Kibra, we need to look at all levels of actors. And I would call it a second thought. Let's see who else to rope in. And I don't think it can just be a job of Mr. Shikuku and his department. There are many others to be involved. And of course, we must also not forget we have now a devolved structure. We also need to involve our counties. They also have to deliver. So my appeal is just, let's look at an orchestra and a well-concerted orchestra to get involved, to improve quality of urban life, and definitely also where most Nairobians stay. I mean, we know Kibra has 500,000 people. I think it remains a big challenge to all of us. Thank you.
So I want to respond to the first one, the issue of how we can participate, particularly in the delivery of 1 million housing units. You did hear from the inauguration speech of the president. The president did say that in the next 5 years, government will develop 500 units and therefore empower the 500 homeowners. I'm sure you heard about that one. For us to empower 500 homeowners, we need to develop more houses. So it will mean some may own and some may just stay for on rental basis. So this 1 million is actually divided into two components. there is a component of 800,000 housing units, which will now be delivered on public-private partnerships, PPPs. And from the statement of the principal secretary, it's like we are already rolling out that with the pilot that is scheduled for launch by the president in February 2018. And that will be delivering 8,200 units on the land that David Kithakia is aware of. It came in through a debt swap between the government of Finland and the government of Kenya. And that is about 55 acres of land. So all that I will ask is for those who will be interested in participating, particularly the 800,000, to be on the lookout on papers, because we shall be doing it project by project, where we'll be requesting for expression of interest. But instead of also just waiting, we may also want to liaise with us, because as it's us who will be generating such like details. So like anybody who is interested, I will leave them with my card, and anytime whatever information comes, if we have exchanged information, or we can still go through Chairman Kara, so that we put you on alert that there is something that is going to come, and then we can prepare ourselves, because we still believe that there are organizations in this country that can deliver some of those houses, and there are some organizations that could come from without that can deliver that. So let's be on alert, and then keep checking on the papers. But any information I would want to make an undertaking that we will be sharing with Kara, and Kara can circulate to all of us. Then there was the issue of slum upgrading, which I would want to see, because it almost rotated around. Are we doing something, or are we just still? Of course, when you hear of our policy, then it's like we are still at the talking level. I want to assure us that we may still. There are areas where we will say we are still at the talking level, but I'm also aware that we have moved on to start implementing. There are certain things that are already taking place that we can see and confirm that the government is not just at the policy level or only, but the government has moved on, and there are certain activities that you can actually see and appreciate that government is now moving on. Of course, it's good also to realize that in this country we are being guided by the National Housing Policy of Kenya of 2004. Of course, it did mention something small about slum upgrading, but the few years now have been in that department. That's now this is my 5th year. I've realized that there are too many intricacies in slums that we needed to come up with a policy that can actually be engaging. So but last year we developed one which we call National Slum Upgrading and Prevention Policy. Because you realize that if you continue upgrading, if we only upgrade, then most likely we will never deal with the slums. And that's how now prevention comes in. So we upgrade existing ones, and upgrading at times causes confusion. It's like you are, in fact, when you talk of upgrading slums, at times English tells me that you may be increasing them. But the truth of the matter is, like, we are improving actually the livelihoods of people in that kind of neighborhood. And now we are also talking of prevention. So even when you hear 800,000 houses, that is like a prevention measure of formation of future slums. Like as we speak now, the government, in collaboration with the UN Habitat and many others, was able to deliver 800 housing units, and these housing units were handed over to the community last year in July. And for the first time in this country, the Islam community now knows government can live to its word, and the government will ensure, like in that project, it will ensure that the beneficiaries who were enumerated in 2005, 2004 were the ones who were given their houses. And I want to believe that, because during that inauguration, even the executive director of UN Habitat was there, and he almost declared it a best practice where we can start, even others can start learning from ourselves. Then apart from that, there is another project towards now slum upgrading. We call it Kenya Informal Settlements Improvement Program, which now mainly majors into delivery of infrastructure, because you realize, like, if anything happened in slums, people will not be able, the services will not be able, like fire will not be able to reach there. So one of the components of slum upgrading is provision of physical and social infrastructure. Physical, where I will now be talking of roads, we'll be talking of security lighting, we'll be talking of water, and we'll be talking of satellite. So that our people, it's like as we prepare to give them what we now call a housing at the end, they are able to do a few things. And when we talk of social, we'll be talking of how do we empower them. We empower them by having schools there. We empower them by having markets there, so that they start generating income, because at the end of the day, slum upgrading is about a human being. It's about improving the life of that human being. And if you look at priorities, because if we listen to the president, he mentioned 4 priorities. In fact, they call them the big 4. And the big 4, one of it is housing. So it tells me that housing is now finding itself at the center of the priorities of government. Then I want to look at the issue of the railway line. If one looks at the issue of the railway line, it was realized, of course, quite a number of people had settled on that reserve. So Kenya Railway, while working with World Bank, has started to see how they can settle some of these people along the same place and leave enough space for the rail. And that has begun. Like if you check from just below DOD, Bakathi Road, that has begun, and people are now being settled along the railway line, and I believe that is something that will move on, so that we live, because this started particularly when there used to be accidents, and we find our people are getting affected. So it was realized that we can settle some along their line, but still leave space for the reserve. So that is something that is actually happening when it comes to the rail line. A number of people have benefited, and of course we can never miss complaints, because the rail line is quite long. But there is a process that has begun, and we want to believe that it will continue until the issue of slums along the rail line is actually settled. Then there is the Kibera, particularly the Nubian land. There are various components to slum upgrading. One of it, of course, I've mentioned about the issue of physical and social infrastructure. I've also mentioned the issue of housing. But the other one is provision of secure tenure. We believe that once people have secure tenure, which may come in many forms, they can now organize themselves either to directly access loan facilities or whatever from organizations that are available, and they can upgrade themselves. But that does not necessarily mean that the government will just sit and wait for the individuals who may take a little bit much longer. Like within the 200,000 houses, we have already arranged, because what the 822 was only able to realize was only dealing with Zone A of Kibera, Soweto East Village. And Kibera Soweto East Village is divided into 4 zones, A, B, C, D. So we deal with A, but yet we had only designed 1+4 levels, the architect knows, and that could not even accommodate all the people who of Zone A. Now, as we are moving to Zone B, we want to generate 4,435 housing units. And with that, we believe we have sorted out the backlog of A, and would have sorted out the people of B, and we are likely even to enter into C, which is also arranged to take place. But as we start with B, we will also want to take up one in South B. We call it Marguini, and Marguini will be generating 2,600 housing units. So as a pilot for the 200,000 houses, we have aligned that the president will be launching this program early in the year, probably March, and it will be generating 7,000 housing units for the slum dwellers. We want to believe that we are now in the running mode. The time of talking is, I don't do a lot of talking. I do a lot of action. And I want, because probably by 2022, I will just be looking at the door of my retirement. And I will want to retire while knowing that I have facilitated a number of slum dwellers access housing. Of course, I'm now happy because for the first time when we developed the Kibera high rise, somehow people ended up taking them up. But 822, I'm a proud person who can stand and say the really owners benefited. And that is my line of looking at it. Within the 802, we have identified counties. We are working with counties across. Of course, it will not just be for Nairobi. We are also looking at other counties across this country, and we want to believe that will do quite some change, because of course the World Bank program under the Kenya Informal Settlement Improvement Program will also be going on as we install infrastructure across this country. If one asked me, will you eliminate slums in this country, I would say yes. Why? I would upgrade existing ones, and I will prevent formation of new ones. And with hope, I'm sure, God on our side, we shall make it.
Yes.
Thank you. It's now my great pleasure to declare the second Kara Business Expo and Conference officially open.
Na sio sikukuu bado zika. Mheshimiwa, so tell us what you are doing. Very good. And it's free today.
Yeah, everything is free.
Yes. So today we are reporting free.
So we have NHIS, we have birth certificate, so we have birth certificate, we have NHIS, Expo, accessible for children. We have so many youth groups, women groups who don't qualify for maybe gender because of the free of charge. Those that they don't know that they have to come and apply for.
You don't feed your staff. Where about?